Hi there, Susan Granfield from SG Development Solutions. I'd like to spend the next few minutes just sharing some things I've learned recently with you that I think you're going to find really useful. Since November 2013, I have been on a Neuroscience for Coaches programme. Neuroscience, you might think, what is that all about and why would you be interested in that? And that's certainly what my friends and family thought, given that science was not a subject that I was showing a lot of aptitude for at school. Getting involved in neuroscience and understanding about the brain seemed like a strange choice. But when I heard about the Neuroscience for Coaches programme, I thought that is absolutely up my street. One, because I'm a coach, so in the title it would suggest there'd be something I could learn. And the other thing was the neuroscience element. I've become strangely fascinated by the brain. So much so I bought myself a little model. And the reason I've become fascinated by the brain is it really started when I started learning about and practicing mindfulness in 2011. And from the research that I've read about mindfulness, we really have got tangible evidence now to say that mindfulness and mindful meditation actually changes the way your brain works in positive ways. But aside from that, I know from my own personal experience that mindfulness, I am sure, has changed my brain. I find it easier to make decisions. I have more clarity of thought. I can focus my attention for longer periods of time. I can relax far more easily and quickly than I ever used to be able to. So I know something's gone on in my brain as a result of the mindfulness, and that really prompted me to want to learn more about it. So I started this Neuroscience for Coaches programme, and some of the stuff I'm learning is just so fascinating. I wanted to share it with you, and not just share it with you as a bunch of facts, but share it with you in terms of, and how can you use that stuff? What does it mean? How can you apply these brain facts to your own personal and professional lives? So make sure you keep coming back regularly here, because I'll share every month or every couple of weeks. I'm going to share some more stuff with you, so please do keep coming back. I've got 3 insights to share with you today. The first insight I'd like to share with you is the fact that your brain is made of plasticine. Obviously it's not really, but it's a metaphor for the fact that our brain is plastic, and just like plasticine or plastic, it can be moulded and its shape can be changed, it can perform different functions. We used to think that our brain was pretty much the way you were born was the way it was going to be forever, and that different parts of the brain control different functions. And even on my little model here, you can see different functions controlled by different parts of the brain. Now that's true, but what we now know is if you experience some sort of impairment or damage to a part of your brain, other parts of the brain start to take over that function. So if you lose speech or sight or some other function, other parts of your brain start to create connections so that you regain some, if not all, of that function. So research into stroke patients, people with dementia, Alzheimer's, people with brain injuries, that research is showing us that our brain is indeed plastic, and it can be changed and moulded over time. So what does that mean for you and me? Well, in terms of habits, and we've all got lots and lots of habits, we don't have to be stuck with those habits. We can actually change our habits and therefore change the way that the brain functions. So if you have a habit that you would like to change, something you'd like to do differently, conscious effort, focused attention will help to create new neural pathways, which actually changes the way your brain works. So if you have a habit you want to change, or you want to start something new or different, then focused effort can change the function of your brain. So you can indeed teach an old dog new tricks, so give it a go. The second insight I'd like to share with you is that hugs are good. That's maybe not revolutionary to you. Hugging people, being hugged by people is really good for you. Now there is a guy called Paul Zak, who's kind of cheesily named Dr. Love. But the reason he's named that is because he has done a huge amount of research into a neurotransmitter, a chemical in your brain called oxytocin. And oxytocin is a neurotransmitter which creates feelings of trust. It helps develop our empathy. It creates bonding and connection between people. Now, we used to think it was particularly prevalent or mainly prevalent in women, particularly women who were pregnant or had just had a baby. So part of the process of labour, breastfeeding, oxytocin was produced to create a bond with the baby. We now know that everyone produces oxytocin, women more than men, but we can talk about that on another blog. But we produce this oxytocin, and the amazing thing is, when it's produced, it actually enhances feelings of trust. So some of Paul Zak's research has shown that when somebody does something good for someone else, so let's say someone generously gives somebody else money, that creates an increase in oxytocin in the person receiving the money. So that starts a process of trust. And what then happens is, and his research has shown, the person who's received the money is far more likely to return some of the money, to share that newfound money with somebody else, return it perhaps to the person who gave it to them, because of a sense of trustworthiness. So trust, it happens when you experience this surge in oxytocin as a result of somebody doing something generous, like giving you money. It happens in other ways. Oxytocin is produced through physical contact, hence the thing about hugs. So when you hug someone, you both experience oxytocin. Even shaking hands, any sort of physical contact can create that oxytocin. Things like dancing, listening to music, lots and lots of other things create oxytocin as well, as do acts of kindness, like volunteering or charity work. So how can you use that? Well, depending on whether it's a work or a non-work setting, if you want to build trust with someone, think about what you can do to create that oxytocin, that surge in oxytocin in them. If appropriate, physical contact. So if it's, your partner and you want to build a good relationship with them, hugging, great way to do it. If it's at work, then whatever appropriate form of physical contact, or doing something for somebody else. Random acts of kindness can create that oxytocin, which builds that trust. Insight number 3 is that your brain does not differentiate between real and imagined. And what that means is that if you do brain scans or brain imaging when somebody's engaged in a task, the bits of the brain that light up, that show that they're activated, light up when the person thinks about doing that activity. So thinking about it and doing it basically do the same thing in your brain. So what does that mean for you and I? Well, if we want to get good at something, if we want to improve our skills on something, thinking about it has the same effect as doing it. So athletes use it, so they don't have to keep running the race, they can imagine running a race. It creates the same patterns of activity in their brain, which creates really strong neural pathways, which means they get better at running that race. So if you've got a big presentation to do and you want to really nail it, practicing is really important, but visualising it, imagining yourself doing it, creates those same neural pathways. Now, you can probably tell that I'm quite excited about this stuff, and I really want to share more of it with you. And I'm not going to blind you with science because, I'm not the expert here. But what I do want to do is share the stuff that I think is most relevant and useful to our personal and professional development. So please come back again, keep coming back regularly to see what new insights I've got, and I'll explain more about my little brain model as we go through these different blogs. If you get any questions, if there's anything you specifically want to know about your brain, stick it in the comments section or drop me an email and I will do my best to find the answer for you. Hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks a lot for watching.